Elon Musk has drawn attention to India's declining fertility rate.
The question is now being asked by Elon Musk. The billionaire has repeatedly warned that falling birth rates could become one of the biggest challenges facing humanity.
Ladies and gentlemen, the population of India is about to collapse. In 2022, Elon Musk said something in front of the world that sounded absolutely insane.
Please look at the numbers. If people don't have more children, civilization is going to crumble. Mark my words.
Now, when people heard it, they were shocked because this is a man who thought of building electric cars. People called him crazy until he built the most valuable car company on earth. Then he said he wants to make rockets. People called him crazy until he turned it into a $1 trillion miracle. So this time, when he said population collapse is a far bigger threat to civilization than climate change, they were curious and anxious at the same time. Now look at this graph. A single boring line on a chart is breaking the world. It's called the Total Fertility Rate. It's the average number of children a woman has in her lifetime. And the rule is pretty simple. If that number is 2.1 or above, a country's population either grows or holds steady. If it falls below 2.1, the population is mathematically guaranteed to shrink. Now look at this. For India, this was never a problem. We stood at a TFR of 6 in 1960. And then it started dropping. And now in 2026, this number has dropped to 1.9 for the first time in Indian history.
Countries across Asia, Europe, and the Americas are seeing fewer children being born. India is now beginning to see the same trend.
The country is entering a new phase of demographic transition.
India's total fertility rate has fallen below the replacement threshold for the first time.
Now, when I saw this, my first reaction was, this is great news. Think about it. We have 200 million people living in poverty. The government hands out subsidized food to 800 million people. We don't have enough hospitals. We don't have enough schools. So if the population drops, everything will be great, right? Less people, less poverty, more resources, and eventually we can lead a great European life with a lot of resources. But that's when Elon Musk's tweet came up. And I said, maybe there is something wrong with my thought process. So I pulled a thread of research papers, documents, case studies, and a shit ton of numbers. And what I found is that population collapse will change India more than any politician, any election, any pandemic, and any war ever has.
Fertility rate has declined all over India. That creates a difficult balance.
And in this economic case study, I'm going to show you something that's going to blow your mind. Why is the richest man on earth worried about population collapse? How does the most crowded country in human history suddenly end up running short of babies? And how could that affect the Indian economy more than any war, any pandemic, and any election? People, before we get into India's fertility crisis, there is something uncomfortable I want to talk to you about. You know, it's shocking to know that 97% of Indian families are just one incident away from a complete financial collapse. Most middle-class families in India have about 6 to 12 months of savings. But because they don't buy a term insurance, that one incident completely wipes out their savings. So please do yourself and your family a favor and buy a term insurance policy. For just 1,000 rupees a month, you could get a cover of up to 2 to 3 crore rupees, and that could save your family from a disaster. Now I know what you're thinking. Buying an insurance policy is extremely complex. There are 25 different companies with, God knows, hundreds of different plans with confusing terms and hidden conditions. So how do you actually buy an insurance policy that can actually save your family from a disaster and not just rip you off? Well, that is why Ditto is here to help you out. Ditto is a Zerodha-backed company and they are the most trustworthy insurance advisor in the country. They are so trustworthy that even if you try to buy an expensive insurance policy that you do not need, they'll advise you not to buy it, even if that means less commissions for them. And they do all of that for absolutely zero cost. On top of that, if your claim ever gets rejected, Ditto will personally step in, help you with paperwork, follow up, and everything if your claim is genuine. And by the way, they won't even spam call you. So use the link in the description and buy a term insurance policy for your family, and please protect your family. Now you see, the thumb rule to see the future of any country would be to go to a country that is already experiencing your future. So your future needs to be their present. Right now, that country is South Korea. South Korea's fertility rate is 0.75. Now let me show you what that number actually does. If you take 200 Korean parents at 0.75, they have just 75 children, and those 75 babies will only have 28. So in just 3 generations, the population goes down from 200 people to under 30. Now let's go even further to understand what exactly happens when this population collapse occurs. Japan crossed a TFR of 2 decades ago, and today it is living with the consequences of population collapse. Today, Japan has over 9 million empty homes with no one left to inherit them. Thousands of schools in Japan are closing, and in 2024, Japan sold more adult diapers than baby diapers. And as it turns out, the loneliness epidemic went so crazy that old people were apparently committing a crime just to have a community in jail. And here's why people say, bro, we to have 1.4 billion people and India is doing great at a TFR of 1.9. So what is the problem? Well, the problem is even Korea said the same when they were at 1.9. And so was Japan. So you might say, every country is getting old, brother. China is getting old, Japan is getting old, so is Korea. So what is the problem if India gets old? It's a natural cycle. Well, let me show you why this is absolutely disastrous for India. You see, demographers say when 14% of your people are above the age of 65, they call the country old. Now, if you look at the GDP per capita of each country that got old, you will see that Japan crossed it in 1994 when they had a per capita GDP of $39,000 to $40,000. South Korea crossed it in 2018 at around 33,000 to 35,000 per capita GDP. And China is crossing it right now at about $12,000 to $13,000 per capita GDP. But India is just at 2,700. So do you see? Japan got old as a rich man. South Korea got old as a rich man. China got old as a comfortable middle class household. India is about to get old as a daily wage worker. So the question is, what exactly is the problem with India, and how could China go from a poor village economy to a $13,000 middle class country in one generation? Well, in economics, there is a word called demographic dividend. Now here's what it actually means. In every country's life, there is a magical 30 to 40 year window where the math perfectly tilts in the country's favor. Look at this. This chart shows exactly what the dividend is. Each curve is a country's worker share or the percentage of people of working age. Now watch the shape. It rises, peaks, and then it falls. That hump is the dividend window. The 30 to 40 years when a country is almost all workers and very few dependents. Now read the timing of this chart. Japan peaked around 1990 at 70%, and that's exactly when they became the world's number 2 economy. China peaked at around 2010 at 74%, and they had the single highest worker share of any major nation in history. And then they used this labor force to become a manufacturing superpower. South Korea peaked around 2015, but by this time, they'd already built giants like Samsung, Hyundai, and the entire economic miracle happened within that bump itself. Because of which, today, South Korea stands at above $35,000 per capita GDP. So if you see, each one of those booms sit under the top of the curve. And it's not a coincidence, guys. It's the same engine firing at the same point in each country's life. Young people working hard and uplifting the country from poverty. That is where the opportunity lies. Now look at this blue dashed line. That is India. It's the only one which is still climbing, and our hump doesn't peak until 2041. And that, my dear friends, is a gift. We are inside that golden window right now. But do you notice what happens after the peak? Every curve falls and it never comes back up. Japan, Korea, China all got into a decline, and India will also see a massive decline. So do you realize what that means? This dividend is not a gift, it is a loan. The young population shows up for free, but it only turns into wealth if you give those young people jobs. A 25-year-old with a factory job is a taxpayer who's building the nation's savings. Whereas a 25-year-old jobless person sitting idle is a dependent today and a burden on the economy tomorrow. So the only variable is, did the country create enough jobs during the demographic dividend? And this is exactly what China got right. When China's dividend opened in the 1980s, it made one ruthless decision. They put every young hand to work in manufacturing, and it became the factory of the world. Hundreds of millions of people walked into those factories making shoes, phones, steel, and solar panels. Those wages turned into household savings. Those savings and taxes built the rail, the cities, and the $3 trillion war chest. And by the time China's window started closing in 2021, the dividend had been converted into permanent wealth. So the Chinese old people have enough savings to not be dependent on the government. And now let's look at India. This is the path that should worry every policymaker and every citizen. We have the largest young force in human history sitting right here, right now, and the dividend is open. But the problem is we are struggling to create enough jobs. About 85 to 90% of India's workforce is informal with no contract, no pension, no savings, and no safety net. And over 40% are still stuck in agriculture, which is the lowest productivity work there is. Now here's the problem. A farmer with a cow can barely make $1,000 a year. But a factory worker becomes more productive and can make $2,000 to $4,000 a year. But an engineer could be even more productive and make around $40,000 a year. So it is super important that our farmer's son graduates from farming to factory. His daughter then goes on to become an engineer, and each generation graduates to a better place to become more and more productive. This is when a rich old population is born which has enough savings to take care of itself. This is what we call as the economic ladder of productivity. And if you look at South Korea and China, this is exactly what happened during their demographic dividend. Their per capita income shot up due to increase in productivity. And today, even though we are 1.4 billion people, only 2.8 crore people actually pay income tax, and 1 billion people live under $1,000 a year. So most of our population is sitting here doing low productivity work. This is the reason why India needs manufacturing, because manufacturing is perhaps the best way to employ 1 billion people in a decade. And while we keep comparing ourselves to China, if you look at where China was, today manufacturing is only about 12 to 13% of our economy, whereas at our same stage, China was pushing around 25%. So here's the truth. Today, everybody is celebrating the fact that India is the world's youngest nation. We have the largest workforce on earth. But do you realize a young population is not an achievement? We proudly say that we are an agricultural nation, but we don't realize that looking at the sky and praying to God is not a great idea. Our population is a ticking time bomb, because these 600 million young people are not going to stay young forever. In 30 years, each one of them is going to turn old, and if they reach old age without savings, without a pension, without wealth, we won't have a demographic dividend. We will have a demographic disaster with more than 600 million poor old Indians. And the state won't be able to feed 600 million poor old Indians. So the message to the government and people is very clear. The window to defuse this bomb is open right now, and it peaks at 2041. So the question is, what should we push the government to do? Number one, instead of fighting over stupid things like language and caste, we need to make jobs our obsession and manufacture as much as we can. We cannot employ 600 million people in IT and services alone. The only thing that has ever absorbed a young population at this scale is a factory. India needs a manufacturing boom the way China did in the 80s and 90s. And every year of delay is a year of dividend burnt. Number two, the BJP keeps saying, Baba, we are doing better than Congress. We are doing better than Congress. But Baba, better than Congress is not enough. We are running out of time, and by 2041, if we don't build enough factories, we will miss an opportunity of a lifetime. So we need to upskill our poor, and our poorest people need schools, training, and factories. Number three, we have to turn today's worker into tomorrow's saver. A job is not enough anymore. The wage has to translate into savings. So as we grow, we need to build the pension and retirement savings system while this generation is still earning, so that when they're old, they can fund themselves instead of bankrupting the state. So we are not rich and young. We are poor and young with exactly one shot to become rich before we become old. So we have a choice. Either we employ this generation now, or we pay for it in the next 50 years. That is the entire case study in one sentence. The dividend is not destiny, it's a deadline. The question is, do we waste our time arguing about caste and language, or do we actually push the government to bring more manufacturing? That is the answer to the question on how do we save India from a demographic disaster. And I just hope you learned something valuable from this case study. That's all from my side for today, guys. If you learned something valuable, please make sure to hit the like button to support our channel. And for more such insightful business and political case studies, please subscribe to our channel. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the next one. Bye bye.